Hi and welcome to the Online Course Creator Show. I am your host, Lou Blakely, and I am excited to be coming to you today to share 7 things that launching has taught me. So one of the things that I have been doing in January is VIP days, where I spend a day one-on-one with people where we map out your entire strategy for this year, regardless of whether you're just starting out or if you are seasoned, like you are a seasoned course creator and you're looking to go to the next level this year. Now, this is not an offer that I have ongoing. I used to, and when I stopped one-on-one coaching, I actually stopped offering these VIP days, but I thought it would be fun to bring some back for January, which I have done. So people have been signing up through December and in January for these days together where they walk away with their own personalized strategy. And just as a PSA, before I get into the episode, I actually have one spot left for next week. So if you're interested, reach out to me ASAP, because as I said, these are not something that is on offer all of the time. If you want that personalized strategy, no matter where you're at, and you're looking to really get into this business model this year and really take it to where you want it to go, I'll share a link below, but also don't hesitate to reach out to me, because I actually like to have a little bit of a conversation with you first to make sure it's the right fit for both of us. But getting back to my point, why am I even talking about this day together, this launch plan in a day? So part of that process is when you decide that you're going to sign up for this, one of the first things we do is I actually send you a questionnaire that you need to fill in before our day together. And that really does help me a lot in terms of steering the strategy. But also, the questionnaire is designed to actually provide breakthroughs for you. As you fill it in, you may need to go and find more information about your business to date. And often that is the kind of information that is really going to help you even before we get on the call. So the questionnaire part of it is very valuable. But anyway, I was reading one of the responses, because obviously I review these before we jump on the call, usually a few days in advance. But I was reading one of the responses for next week, for one of the sessions next week. And one of her answers really got me thinking, and I love the answer, to be honest. It really made me happy, and it gave me inspiration for this episode. So this particular client, who's got a VIP day booked with me next week, has actually already worked with me before. She has done Action Takers last year, and in Action Takers, if you don't know about that program, it is where I am there by your side as you move as a group through your launch. So it's really encouraging you to step out of learning mode, step out of perfection mode, and really get you into action. And as a group, we launch together. Now, this particular client had actually purchased a big course on launching in the past, not from me, from someone else. So she had all the information at her fingertips, but she really struggled to step into actually doing the thing, right? To take the action. And even if she did start the action, what she found was that often she was getting into a launch and then kind of like bailing out before it even happened, and like really over teaching in her webinars and all of that kind of stuff. So launching had not been successful to her so far, even though she had all of the information at her fingertips. And that's exactly why I created Action Takers, because I do see this happening a lot. Now, if you want to join the waitlist for Action Takers, I am going to be running it at least once this year. I'm not sure on dates yet, but I'll drop that in the show notes as well. So sign up there. So getting back to the questionnaire, and the question that really made me pause and think. So the question in the questionnaire was inside a section for people who have actually launched before. And it was all about their launching experience. What had they done to date? And, it had a bunch of questions. And one of the questions was, what have you loved about your launch experiences so far? And I actually loved her answer. So it was the clearly defined steps now that I have a solid roadmap to follow. So obviously that comes from the information she has purchased in the past in that course, and also working with me in Action Takers. So she now has that solid roadmap to follow. Yes, big tick. Now, the next thing she says is the Stripe notifications of every payment. I do like the adrenaline too, and that the act of launching grows my audience each time. So that was her answer. Absolutely loved it. And it actually got me thinking, like, those are the things that I love about launching too. Like, to me, Stripe notifications hitting your bank account in a short period of time, or hitting your email, in a short period of time, like, to me, that's never, ever going to get old. And it is the very, very, very best feeling, especially when you created the course or the program a long time ago, and now you're just literally promoting it. Like, that is where the real gold is. And I personally also love the adrenaline side of things as well. Like, I do think that launches, yes, they can be up and down sometimes in terms of your emotions as you ride the emotional wave through a launch, but there are ways definitely to learn to manage that. And that is something I'm very big on personally. As someone that helps people through this, I've recognized that that is something that people do need help with. And I do have that capability, obviously, because I'm a trained life coach as well. So yeah, it just made me really think, why do I love launching so much, and what has it really taught me? So today I'm actually going to share the 7 things that it has really left me with over the years. So I did my first launch back in 2017, and that was a wild ride, definitely. That is when I made $8,000 pre-selling my course for the very first time. So literally got paid to create my course. And I actually recorded an entire podcast episode about that, which is episode 47. I will also link that for you in the show notes. So over the years, I've done many different kinds of launches, launched in many different ways, and it is something that I truly believe is a skill that you absolutely must have in your business to launch an online course, of course, but there's so many other things that you can launch with a launching model, from everything from one-on-one coaching. You could even do that. You could do group coaching, memberships, digital products, and masterminds. Launching really is a really great way to sell any of these products. Now, another reason that I wanted to record this episode is because I think sometimes people make launching out to be this huge mountain that they have to climb, like climbing Mount Everest. And that for that reason, a lot of the time it doesn't get done. There's maybe some feelings of worry that it's not going to work out or whatever. And really what I'm going to share with you today will hopefully shift that if you are feeling like that, because really every launch, in my opinion, is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and obviously to grow our presence and our visibility and our audience as well, of course, but it's also going to help us grow as business owners. And one launch is not the be-all and end-all, and that's something you've probably heard me say a lot if you listen to this podcast regularly, is it's not just about one launch. So let's stop making the launch into the huge mountain we have to climb and actually just realize that it's just an experience, and it's something that we get to strive for and get to reassess afterwards, and we get to give it another shot. So a lot of what I'm sharing today does actually come back to that. But the first thing that I've learned over the years is that in order to launch well and enjoy launching and to actually make it easier, it's really key to focus on your strengths. So there's more than one way to launch. And choosing what works for you is actually going to be really key, and choosing what you find easy or easier is also going to give you a really good head start. So if you like to talk, if you're one of those people that could chat to anyone for hours, then instead of focusing so much on creating the type of content that, involves a lot of writing, you could be going live, you could be hopping on podcasts, you could be filming quick videos that then you post online as part of your launch strategy. Like, it doesn't have to all be written word, because I know for some of you, like, writing is very hard. But on the flip side of that, if you prefer writing and you really don't like showing up and talking off the cuff, like that's something that you're not comfortable, then writing is going to be the better option for you. Now, this also comes into what style of launch event that you could run. So if you love to build really deep relationships even in that pre-launch stage, then maybe running a boot camp or a challenge launch is actually going to suit you better. But if you're someone that you really love to teach, you're quite comfortable, maybe you're an ex-teacher, or, maybe you just find it easy to get up and teach people, then a webinar is going to be the best option for you. So focus on your strengths, and you're really going to start to eliminate a lot of the work around launching, which is, definitely handy. For me personally, I love to chat. So that's really where I'm at on that one. Now, the second thing that I have learned over the years, if something doesn't get done in a launch, it doesn't matter. And what I mean by that is you may have all of these carefully constructed plans of what happens when, what happens on each day of the launch, which is great. But if you miss something, or you don't have the bandwidth to complete it, or you don't have enough support to actually get everything done, it doesn't matter. There's always going to be another launch where you can actually do that thing that you couldn't quite get to this time. So your launches are only going to get better and better over time. And again, that relates back to that whole, it's not about your first launch at all. It's not about one launch. It's actually about using it as a model over time for your business, because each time you do it, you're going to get more experienced. You're going to have more resources. A lot of the work gets done in that first launch. But once it's done, you're literally rinsing and repeating a lot of it, which reduces the workload, which means on that second, third, fourth, 10th launch, you can actually start to add in more bells and whistles and start working on making sure that your launches are higher converting. Now, the third thing I have learned over the years, and this one is definitely about launching, right? But it's also about marketing in general, online marketing. And that is, things are always going to change. You need to embrace change. But the foundational stuff does not change as much as we think it does. And I think this is quite good timing to be chatting about this. Obviously, in the last week, if you follow social media and you're on social media and you're in this online business world, you probably have heard about how TikTok got taken down in the US for 12 hours and then got reinstated, which is all very political and all of that. But also Instagram has come out with a number of changes. I just saw that TikTok has a new feature that just came out overnight, something about it connecting to ManyChat. So things are changing fast at the moment, and there's a lot of commentary online about what to do. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. You've got to build your business off social media and have an email list and all that stuff, which is 100% correct. However, I really have learnt over the years not to get so absorbed in all of this chat about all of these changes. And yes, I'm not someone that my entire business revolves around social media, and I'm very grateful for that. But, there is a lot of people whose businesses are all about social media, and it's their job to let you know about these changes. But I think when we hear so much of it, it can sound like everyone's panicking or everything's changing and we have to adjust everything. And that is not necessarily true all of the time. Like, the TikTok thing doesn't really affect anyone that much. Like, it doesn't mean the platform's changed. It's back now. So is it really worth the panic? Is it something that you need to spend time on in your business where you could be spending time on the things that matter? Absolutely not. So you can get sucked into the vortex. Now, sometimes there are changes that you need to change things for, and one of those things that comes to mind is the Facebook changes, Facebook ads, iOS changes that happened, I think it was 2022. Now, that was a case where, if you were running Facebook ads, you had to learn some new things and do some different actions inside your ads manager in order to keep up to date. And that's where you do have to pay more attention, right? So it's knowing what changes you need to pay attention to and what is just hype and what you can just ignore. So what I've noticed is that when there's all this hype about changes, quite often it's at a tactical level. It's just tactics, right? Which is like little things or features that you can use to help with your marketing. But they're not strategic. So strategic is like the higher level, and then tactical is down below that, like the steps that you take. Whereas the strategy is the overarching foundational higher level things that have to take place, and that's like your messaging, how you speak to your ideal customer, what you're actually doing in terms of the big picture, like what is your webinar about, what is your lead magnet about, all of that kind of stuff, and how do they tie together, and what process are you taking people through. At a higher level, that is strategy, whereas like what button you press on social media or what app it connects with, that is tactical. And tactics can be very powerful, but what I've noticed is that the strategic stuff does not change. It's foundational. And a lot of it, and especially when you learn what launch strategy actually is. And I actually had a VIP day yesterday, and she was just like, wow, this is insane. This, once she truly understood how a launch strategy actually worked. And the interesting thing is that I was saying to her that this strategy to launching has been around since the beginning of the internet, and it has not changed. And I don't think it will change. It's just the tactical stuff on top of that that gives you extra bells and whistles to be able to execute it. But that is a lesson that I've learned. Do not get sucked into the vortex of the hype of things changing on online marketing platforms at all. I think focus on the bigger picture. Know when that you need to learn changes versus just ignore them because they don't really concern you. Don't get sucked into the hype and just keep going with your strategy. Now, the next lesson that I have learned, and I think this applies to life as well, but specifically I'm talking about it in the context of launching. So the things that you put off the most give you the most fulfillment and the most feel-good factor when you do them, even if you do them scared. So I actually find that sometimes when it comes to launching it does feel a little bit easier to put it off. I'll do it next month. I'll do it in 3 months' time. I'll do it next year. I'm not immune to those feelings as well, because it feels like it would be easier not to do it for sure. But what I've found over the years is that when you keep choosing the easy version, you lose fulfillment and you end up being quite unhappy, which is kind of deep. But when you actually step into the things that scare you and actually do them anyway, that is when you actually find a lot of happiness. And I think that it's actually not happiness, it's fulfillment. And if you can be fulfilled, then the flow on from that in all areas of your life is immense. So launching can really bring about that sense of fulfillment. Also, as my client for our VIP day next week said, launching is great for adrenaline. And I find that too. Nothing makes me happier than getting Stripe notifications, payment notifications. I've actually moved to Kajabi payments, so I don't really get the Stripe notifications anymore. I get them from Kajabi instead. And it is part of the excitement, and I'll never forget the moment when I just moved to Australia and I had created my course and I had launched it a few times and I had it available to buy anytime, like I'd moved it to an evergreen model by this point. And I just moved countries and I had no time to sit at my desk, and actually my business was the last thing on my mind. And I just remember sitting there having lunch on the river one day and got my first notification without even having to launch. And that was just like amazing to me. I still remember that feeling, and obviously it happens a lot more now, which is great, but I never get sick of it. It's always a rush. And like that satisfaction, that knowing that you put in the work and now you get to reap the rewards, is very fulfilling, very exciting. So my point is that the things that you put off the most give you the most fulfillment. So whatever it is that you're putting off right now, why are you putting it off? And if it's launching, then just know that all of the good stuff is on the other side of actually challenging yourself and doing something that, is going to create that excitement. Now, the fifth thing that I've learned is that launching is definitely a numbers game. It is all about data, but you can get further faster by building relationships behind the scenes. So One thing that I think is becoming more and more prevalent when it comes to launching is that it is about building relationships just as much as it is about marketing to the masses. Now, 5 years ago, or even less than that, it was very much about marketing to the masses. You could be online putting out content, doing big launches without talking to a single human being. But I think this really shifted in 2023 and 2024 when obviously the economy took a dip. People really started looking at, well, where am I actually spending money in places online where I'm getting value for these programs? And it was a bit of a recalibration for the industry. And also customers got way more discerning, right? So they wanted you to actually give a shit about them. And I think that the internet is actually becoming a much better place because of this, or maybe not the internet, but because it's the wild west out there, right? But it's like more about the online marketing world has really started to factor in like building relationships, speaking to your ideal clients, actually learning about what they want. And I think going forward that the businesses that really focus on building these relationships are the ones that are really going to succeed. It's definitely not like put my stuff out there and expect people to buy and I never have to talk to another human being for the rest of my life. I think those days are over. So while yes, it is about the numbers coming through your launch funnel, is obviously going to dictate a lot of your success, but actually building relationships all of the time. And also, if you are someone who's just coming into launching and you are maybe just starting this in this online business world, then building relationships is actually going to be absolutely a vital part of your launch strategy. So I've spoken recently a little bit about this in past episodes, but one of the things that I really started to help my clients do is start creating conversations as part of their launch strategy, like behind the scenes sales. And it worked incredibly well, especially for people who were coming into a launch with a very small audience, because having a small audience can feel a little bit restrictive when you're coming into a launch. But there are ways that you can really work on your relationship building and actually focus on the relationships that you already do have, as well as doing a launch to the public. So yeah, relationships never go out of fashion as far as I'm concerned. Now, the sixth thing that I have learned and realized over the years with launching is that a lot of the money that you will make in your business is actually made on the other side of launches. So what I mean by that is like the launch is what the public sees. It's what's visible. But what I'm saying is that if you are launching regularly, a lot of the money that you're going to make in your business are actually transactions that are happening behind the scenes. And what I mean by that is they're not actually happening in your launch, but they're happening because of your launch. They're happening after your launch. Now, this could be that you launch a course and then as a result of that, you start getting a lot of inquiries for maybe your one-on-one services if you're a coach, or maybe it's done for you if you're a service provider. You start to get a lot of other inquiries. But another way this works really well is that people sign up for your online course as like the gateway into your business. And then after they've done that, they're ready to move on to the next step. And then they will continue their journey like inside your business. So they're like back-end sales. So while yes, it's great to celebrate a high revenue launch, of course, the money you're going to make in your business because of that launch that's not directly attached to the launch, if that makes sense, is going to be significant. So that is definitely something I have noticed over the years, and it is actually a really good reason to do more launches, because they're a short stint, a short period where you're really getting visible, and the outcome of that is not only related to your online course. So don't forget that. Which brings me to my seventh and final lesson, that there is nothing quite like launching when it comes to building momentum in your business. For all of those reasons that I just shared, it really is that short time period where you get really, really visible and you walk people through that journey to working with you, but you're also getting in front of people that haven't heard about you before. So you're expanding your audience and increasing your visibility. But the key here is not to go dark after your launch. Like, it's fine to take like a week off, a few days, whatever you need after your launch. I'm all for recouping, and I think that's really necessary. But the key is not to then go dark, like just to vanish and not really put out anything for another 3 months or maybe even a month afterwards. And I have definitely been guilty of this in the past. And so that's why it's one of the biggest lessons. So there's nothing quite like launching. Without a doubt, it is going to be an injection of all of those amazing things into your business. But the key is to then have a plan for after the launch. So what are you doing in between launches to maintain that momentum so that you're going into the next launch and you're not having to start from zero again. You're actually starting from the momentum that you gained from the earlier launch. Now you're going into your next launch and you're not starting from the same place, which is, just going to do amazing, amazing things for your business. So there you have it. There are my 7 lessons that I have learned from launching over the years. I would love to hear from you which ones resonated with you the most. Don't hesitate to send me a direct message on Instagram. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'd always welcome a chat over there. Also, I'm going to share those links in the show notes for the VIP day for the Action Takers waitlist, and I will also put the Money Makers waitlist. So that program is coming out at the end of February, and I'm going to be doing a live round, which means there's going to be weekly calls involved in that too for no extra cost. So get on that as well. Check out the show notes for that. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll be back in your ears next week.